Hello and welcome to healthyhouseplants.com, where we teach you all about gardening in the great indoors. Today's video is sponsored by our Amazon affiliate link, which you'll see in the comments section below. You'll also see in the description below any links to videos I mentioned in this video. So today I'm just going to show you really quickly here what root rot looks like in African violets and what it can pretty much mimics what it looks like in a lot of other types of plants. I have this plant that was brought to me for fixing, for saving, and I thought, oh good, it's a perfect example of root rot coming on. This plant will after this video be very soon repotted into the correct size pot. You can see that this plant does not have the proper ratio that I always talk about, which is 2/3 plant to 1/3 pot. You can see here that the plant is pretty much 1/4 plant at this point to 3/4 pot. It started out when they bought it, it was bigger, but what ends up happening, I'll show you here, is you can see that the leaves start to rot around the plant. So see, they're all droopy and rotty, and the plants, when they are in too big of a pot, when their roots are starting to rot, what will happen is they seem to shrink in their pot. So you will put, this happens all the time, people will put a plant who's been growing very well but seems to be outgrowing its pot into a much bigger pot, thinking that oh goody, I'm going to put it into a much bigger pot, I won't have to repot for a long time. But what happens is you put it in too big of a pot, you have too much soil, the wet soil then leads to roots dying off and then can eventually also lead to root rot itself. I'm not sure, I don't know that root rot is set in exactly here yet. I think it's more, there's way too much wet soil and the roots are dying back because of that, but I will find out when I go in and take the plant out and put it in the right size pot. But as you can see, there's it's all the dying. So it seems counterintuitive. You plant in a bigger pot, you think, now the plant's going to get really big, and what it ends up doing is shrinking. So those are some signs what root rot looks like. Like I said, this is a perfect example. The dying, dead, droopy leaves around it. Eventually, if I didn't repot this, it would all the rest of them would die, and I'd end up with this little teeny thing that would eventually croak as well because it's in way too much soil. So there you go with what root rot looks like in African violets and many other types of plants. And crown rot can also look like that, except that when you feel the crown, which is another thing that I'm happy about with this plant, is that when I feel around the crown, which is the part that goes from the top of the plant in the soil, that's the crown right in there where all the new growth comes from. I'm very happy to say that it is not squishy, because if it was squishy that would mean crown rot, and crown rot, a lot of times it's the end for the plant because the whole main stem and then down to the roots has been rotted and it's dying. So this one doesn't have crown rot, which is a good sign. So I think it will survive when I potted it up into a smaller pot. Thank you for stopping by today. Please leave any comments about any indoor gardening tutorials you'd like to see. Remember to like, comment, subscribe, and share this video. And please check the bell if you'd like to be notified when new videos are released.